next Vihiga governor. They're joining us to help us dissect some of the issues that are surrounding young people and why they are not as active in politics and what the future holds for youth in Kenya as far as politics is concerned. Gloria was telling us before we lost her on the other side of the break that it's not that the youth are not interested, but they are facing barriers that are keeping them from making it in politics and even at the political party level. Gloria, if you could continue with your point, is it that the system in Kenya is rigged against young people?
Definitely. I mean, we cannot, for sure, resources is one thing, but we also have policies that are actually keeping the youth from active politics. For instance, Section 22 of our Constitution, which was actually saying that in order for you to participate and seek an elective seat as an MC, as an MP, as a governor, or any other elective seat, that you must have a degree. That in itself actually marginalizes the youth, because a lot of youth do not have that transition into university, and a lot of youth are pushed into the TVET space. So the section in itself was actually marginalizing the youth. So I'm very glad that the courts ruled against that particular one that was referencing the MCAs, and now we have been forced to reorganize what the minimum qualifications are. So aside from resources, we also have issues such as policies, such as laws that actually rig out the youth. But one thing we are not talking about and not being honest is that the youth are also being kept out of these spaces by the senior veteran politicians who have refused to mentor the youth into those spaces and who have refused to simply retire. I mean, talk about our presidential candidates right now. The other day I was almost, it was like a mob justice on Twitter when I said that Raila Odinga is 76 years old, and that is a fact. And this is the person that you think will bring a fresh start and a fresh this and that. And my point really was to say that if we have 76-year-olds participating actively to seek these positions, where does that leave the youth, right? And where, I'm glad that we have, I'm a member of UDA, United Democratic Party, and I joined there because the party actually is very favorable to the youth and to the women. I know that we have members of ODM who are sitting in this panel today, and I would like to ask them, who is Raila Odinga's protege? Who has he mentored? He is ready to hand over the mantle, because we can talk about resources, we can talk about policies, we can talk about all sorts of things. But the other fact that is there, we know particularly that ODM as a political party has in so many instances called in youthful aspirants who would like to vie for certain positions, sat them down and told them, listen, wewe bado uko na muda, so wachia hii tuachie so and so. So at the end of the day, we also have to look into who is entering the youth into these spaces. And it's not about kuachiwa to be given spaces. It's also about, the proteges. These veteran politicians who are not in space, how are they actually bringing up the youth into this active politics? And we look, when you're talking about these policies and the laws that are hindering the youth, I'll tell you that as the youth who are active in these spaces personally, and I'm an aspirant for the member of parliament of Mombasa constituency in Kisii, I would say the youth also have to fight these policies and these laws that are marginalizing us. Go and put a petition when you see something that is actually trying to take away the youth from the active politics. But to say that we are not passionate enough and we are not interested in politics, that is not true. We are passionate, we are interested in politics, we are fighting for our spaces, but we are facing a lot of challenges. That is just the fact.
Now, let me try and get you to explain. You all seem to be in it, so you perhaps understand what these barriers are. Say I am fresh from campus. Maybe I was in part of the political, the fabric of the university, maybe not. But then I want to be a part of a political party. I want to be the MCA. I want to be a youth leader, so to speak, under the banner of a particular party. What would be the literal problems that I would face, Gloria, as I try to infiltrate and get my way through to those positions? Literally, what would stop me? How would my journey look like?
You're coming out of high school. Yes. you are already in politics in high school, you of course will register to be a member, for instance, with United Democratic Alliance. And the next step would be you want to participate in the political party activities. So, number one, how do you get there? Maybe say you're in Kirinyaga, and you know the political party activities are maybe in the headquarters in Nairobi or in another county or whatever. So you need resources. That's the first thing. So you need to look for money. You need to be able to be visible in these political party activities, whether they are in your county or in another county. So resources would be the first thing. The second thing, even if you beat the barrier of resources, and say, for instance, like the other day we had an aspirants forum in Karen with our party leader, and you actually got resources and got to Karen. How to be able to be visible enough and to speak up and to be allowed to actually, just politic in itself. So then you have to, understand, okay, in this political party, how does it work? Is it that it is a democratic party, I'll raise my hand up and they'll pick me? Or is there a system, an inner circle system where, and this I know for a fact because I've been in ODM and it was a challenge to even be able to get a chance to speak in those forums because they had a closed system of what I call the youth cartel, who would decide these are the people who speak and these are the people who will be visible when our party leader comes. But you see now, for instance, in UDA, you manage to get to an aspirants forum, you get there, and you want to speak, all you have to do, raise your hand or register yourself in the list of people who want to speak, and you'll actually get a chance. Now, forget about speaking and being visible. To be able to now participate in party primaries, because right now that is what we are heading to. We are heading to nominations. Then you have to be able to convince your party through the free and fair party nomination.
I'm still trying to understand, because I'm sure there are viewers who are out there who are not in these circles who don't understand. Let's say there's a forum and you want to speak. You're a young person, unfortunately worse off a woman in these circles, because we do know there are specific challenges to women in politics. What happens when you make the effort, the literal effort to speak out or make your voice heard? Are you shushed? Are you told off? What goes on in these circles?
You see, in some parties, Trix, you will not even get the chance to get to the podium because it is restrictive, because they have the inner circle, because who are you? You just came, you don't have a godfather within the party, you don't have someone who will say, an authority or a brand within the party, like let's say Orengo, to say, wachia msichana onge. In some parties, that's how it works. So you actually will not get a chance to even get to the podium. In other parties, for instance, they will say, we need one youth leader to speak from each county. So, as a youth, you have to, like you said earlier, position yourself such that you are that representative that has built a brand, either through the actions of your campaign or through your advocacy, like what we are doing now. This is advocacy. So in some parties, even without that system, they will say, hey, from Vihiga, there's this and this lady, we hear her a lot, she's been doing activities, she's been mobilizing, give her a chance to speak. So that actually depends on your hard work and how you position yourself, because that is work that you have to do anyway as a youth. For instance, Trix, people were asking me, why are you spending your money and your resources and your time to go and petition and actually get yourself into a legal case that you're fighting for the youth so that they can be represented? One of the reasons is because as a youth leader, as a youth politician, this is our work. That is where you're supposed to thrive. You're supposed to speak for the voiceless youth. Right. So, in an instance like that, then even if you go to a forum, which is like multi-party, you have ODM, you have UDA, you have, and you say, I'm so and so, I'm Gloria Oroba, I would like to speak, in itself, you are already some level of authority because your advocacy and your work and all the resources and effort you put have actually borne fruit to showcase truly, passionately, you are for the youth agenda. So on one hand, the youth actually have to, what you would say, they have to put in resources and they have to put in work to be able to get to a point where you're an authoritative figure. That is entirely up to you, and you don't need money to do that. But on the other hand, you can do all of that And some political parties, even if you are notable, even if you, and this is actually the reason why I went to join UDA, some political parties would not even appreciate and acknowledge that this is actually a youth advocate who's put in the work, who has positioned herself, who is willing to do ABCD. So at this point, she rightfully has acquired that space to go to the podium and speak on behalf of the youth.
Okay. Now I'd like to bring in Mr. Kidaki. Alex Kidaki is trying to vie for the gubernatorial seat for Vihiga County. What change would you like to see that would propel youth towards better fortunes when it comes to their attempts to be in active politics?
I think, not that I'm trying to be the governor. I will be the governor of Vihiga come 2022. That one I can assure you. Now, I think some of the biggest challenges that you can see youth are having is that lack of opportunity. Because what I'm going to do in my government, I'm going to make sure that I give my fellow youth the opportunity to serve. I talk to them so that they can get also the confidence of leading other youth. Because nowadays, if you can see even in our country, what is happening is that very few parties, very few individuals give these people opportunity. But the reason why they are not given opportunity is because they are told maybe you are not famous. I want to give you an example of what is happening like in Vihiga. In Vihiga, you realize that when you tell people that you want to become a governor, they'll ask you, do you have resources? That is number one. Number two, they'll ask you, are you famous? And you see, for somebody like me, I'm a businessman. Most of the time, I'm traveling all over the world, looking for business, looking for resources, looking for what I can be able to do, how I can help my people. And you don't have time to go to the ground. Sometimes it's a bit difficult. I find myself sometimes going to the ground once or twice. But what I've done, I've set up a foundation that is helping our people. So the only thing that I think, one of the things that I'm going to do to our people is that I'll advise them. You don't need to go to those big parties because getting an opportunity, everybody wants to be a place where it's celebrated, not tolerated. So the best thing that I can advise our youth, and in my government, is that I'll talk to our people, I'll talk to the youth, I'll try to form some groups so that I give them, even we'll have those groups so that I can be able to talk to them, small groups in the village. I can be able to talk to our youth so that they can be able to tell me, because these youth, especially these who are idle, they're the guys with best ideas. If you try to talk to them and if you try to engage them and you make sure that they be part of your government, I'm sure you'll go far. I have done business, and through my business, I've learned so many things. It's very, very difficult. You know, in most organizations, especially government organization or private organization, when you're looking for an employment, they'll ask you about experience. But if you come to my company, I don't look for experience. Because these people with the experience, they are very stubborn. Because every time you give them an opportunity to work, they want to do things the way they used to do with the other company. So the best thing that I want, I'll give an opportunity to these fresh youth, people who have never worked. Because when you are a leader, let's say if I get an opportunity, I become the governor of Vihiga. Definitely, I know what I'm going to do. I don't need somebody to advise me what to do. I just need somebody who will follow me, who will listen, somebody that I'll give direction, do this, do this, do this. But if you get these old people with the experience, they'll keep on telling me, no, using during so-and-so government, we used to do this, during so-and-so, we used to do this. So it becomes very, very difficult for you to be able to run that government. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get these freshers, some from university, some from colleges, even those who have not even gone to school, so that I work with them. When we talk about a county job or a government job, it's all about serving people. It's not like business, the way we do business. You know, our main intention is to make money, to make profit. But when it comes to such kind of job, it's all about serving your people, because is in one or the other is like voluntary. Because if you think about money in leadership, you will not make money. Because let's say I want to give an example for something like a governor seat in Vihiga, all over in Kenya. The salary is almost $1 million shilling. $1 million shilling, how many people are depending on you in that region? So many. So when you think about money, like if for youth, you know, most of them, they think, if I get this position, I'll become very rich. In serving, it's not about money, it's passion. You just want to make sure that maybe you got an experience, you want to serve your people, you want to bring changes, because that is the only way. And the moment, I want to give you an example of the governor for Nandi. He's a very young guy. and you can see is really, really doing very well. For me, I believe if these people, youth, are given opportunity, they don't think about the barriers, they don't think about saying that I'm famous, the issue about finances, whatever, because that is not an issue. To me, the issue about funds, the issue about what, is not an issue, because if you see the people who are doing very well in this city, these are the people who are brought up in a very hard time from the village, right, who have to make sure that they make it in life.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I'd like to bring in Mr. Odede. It's been a minute before we heard your voice. Mr. Odede, could you tell us what you think about the youth, or the solutions toward youth participation in politics and their prospects as we head towards the 22 elections? Now, one thing is that even the young people, and we were discussing this during the break, even the young people who have made it, sometimes they are turned into mascots because of the things that they do, and this perpetuates the notion that young people are not serious. And I do not need to mention names. We all know these characters that are young, vibrant, energetic, but their energies always seem, every time they hit the headlines, their energy seems to be directed in all the wrong things.
Yes, Trix. I think there are two things that we cannot ignore. Experience is something very important, sure, and we cannot say in all other aspects of life and development, including companies, corporates, and all that, many times we don't jump from university to CEOs of multinational companies or directly to those blue chip companies. We always appreciate growing as long as your ideas are taken and they are meant to develop what you are part of. Whatever it is that you want to be part of, you must work hard to try and get there. That is not to say that youth should not be should be ignored. I think given the history that we have, it is clear that the space is expanding and the interest of the youth is also growing into political affairs and all that. I think the last election we had very young people, some of them were elected, like the gentleman in Meru, and a few others. In this parliament, compared to other previous parliaments, we have many young people. So the question is, have they done extraordinary looking at those positions they are holding? My friend there has just talked about Nandi, for example. Nandi is a whole county of young people, including members of parliament there. They are pretty much young. The governor is young, the senator is young, the speaker is young. So the question would be, does the positions they hold inspire more young people to come in? Have they outdone the older generation who are also holding the same positions in other counties? Those are some of the questions that should actually pass through our mind. And so that is to mean there is nothing that we can say the older generation will do special that the youth cannot do. And probably there is also nothing too special about the youth that the older cannot do. For me, the idea is we should mix all of them. The youth should not be left out completely simply because they are young. And the youth should also not be brought in simply because they are young. It is about the content, it is about the idea. And I think the space is also becoming interesting because technology is playing a bigger role in development right now. And when it gets there, we can clearly say young people will be an integral part of that development. And if you remain with technology and push the young people away, that development will not be seen. So I personally believe that in the next election, given the fact that we are out there and we are seeing how young people are getting interested by the day, I think we are going to see many, many young people in county assemblies, and we are going to see many young people in positions in parliament, and including governor positions. The only difference is we might still not have a youth president in the next election, but I believe in another 2 or 3 elections we will have a youth president in this country.
Yeah, Mr. Ascon, your view now on the solutions. We've talked about all the problems that youth are facing. What do you think should happen? I do believe also grassroots systems that are favorable at the grassroots level so that they can rise through party ranks, so that we don't have that situation where young people are feeling like they have to infiltrate the top brass of the political party. What if those systems favored them in that they had it coming from the very lower level, even in schools and at the university level, so that they are nurtured as they come up? It's not some sort of surprise situation that Gloria is pointing out, whereby they're told that their audacity is frowned upon.
Well, I agree with you that there must be deliberate efforts towards engaging young people, particularly within political parties. This is to give them a chance to, have their voices out there, and also to give them a chance to participate meaningfully in the processes within political parties. Look at it this way: just as we are addressing the marginalization of women in politics by, doing affirmative action, trying to ensure that we have a two-thirds gender consideration in every appointment and in any election, and even within political parties. The same thing should apply to the young people of this country, because the very same factors that are considered when instituting affirmative action are the very same factors that determine the inclusion of young people in the politics of political parties. And therefore, look at it this way: Right Honorable Raila Odinga, contrary to what my co-panelist Gloria has tried to speak about, has been in the forefront in giving a chance to the young people. Our Secretary General in ODM is a fairly young person. The nominated Senator, Isaac Mwaura, was first an advisor in the office of the Prime Minister. David Osiani is part of those who have been mentored by Raila Odinga. Go to Rachel Shebesh, go to Babu Owino. These are people who have been actively mentored by Raila Odinga so that we can have them in these spaces right now. It must also be considered that for young people to make it in politics, it is more beyond the hardware of resources. It is much of an issue of the mind. We have the numbers. So if we can change the mindset of the young people to have, or to look at leadership as an opportunity, to serve others, then we would have young people, mobilize themselves within their setting, and to have them support one of their own. Look at Meru. We have a 24-year-old who was an MP. He didn't have resources, but because the young people there could acknowledge his leadership skills, which are probably right now a question of debate within his constituency.